Okay, let's take this puppy apart. First thing we'll do is take the air filter off. And for some of you, you may recognize this chrome air filter as being part of a ricer, which is a kitchen implement. I'm also using on my the Goofy cart because I like it so well on here. And this snout on here, and I actually have the rest of this air cleaner. This is an oil bath air cleaner here that came off of a vintage snapper motor that I had, and I adapted it for this purpose because I couldn't come straight out the back here, and the angle was just right, and it just happened to fit right on to my carburetor, like it was made for it almost, even though the motor that it came off of was considerably smaller. I think it was like a 1.5 horsepower or something like that. So we'll get this off and show you what we're going to do. Disconnect the carburetor, and as you can see, I have my fuel line is attached to the bottom here, so I got to disconnect that. And yeah. So if you hear noises going on in the background, it's because my son is here and he's working on his van. I'll swing around here and show you. He's replaced a wheel cylinder in the back of his Dodge van. And so the shade tree fix-it man and his son are both working in the shop today. And yeah. So once you get the air horn off, it's just a matter of a couple of Phillips screws here with a 7/16 nut, and usually it's easier just to take it out using the Phillips screwdriver. He has a Dodge, and Dodges have a habit of their wheels freezing onto the rim, onto the drums. That's what the pounding noise is you hear. He's going to be getting a big sledgehammer pretty quick. And he's going to have to do it himself because, as I think I told you in the previous video clip, I'm on a 10-pound restriction, so I can't do anything really strenuous. At least that's what the doctor said anyway. But what does the doctor know? You know what I mean? They thought that I was gonna. Huh?
He knows to keep you all flipping day.
Yeah, they kept me all day, is right. They thought that I was gonna need a stent or something like that. Well, that didn't turn out to be. Which I'm grateful for. I'm not complaining, you understand. As it turned out, I have a good clean heart system, although there's evidence that I did have a heart attack a few years back. I actually had 2 of them. But why they thought I had a restriction, and when they actually get in there was none, that's a mystery to them and to me to a certain extent, except that I had people praying for me, and so when man can't explain things, I just give the glory to God for making sure that my heart was good. In fact, they said it was so good that they'd be willing to trade, and they were both in their 40s. So how's that? So there must be some issue there, but nothing that they can identify anyway. So now it's a matter of sliding it off, getting the fuel line off. And I just dropped the piece that this hooks into right here. This just swings down. So there it is, all off. And what we're going to change is this right here. I'll bring you back when there's less pounding in the background. Alright, here we are. Here's our two carburetors. This is the original one, and this is the new one. And what I need to do, turn this around this way, I have two modifications I have to make. You see that my fitting here goes straight out the side, and that will not work on my mower because it'll run right into the block. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to put this angle on there. But anyway, the thing we're concerned about at the moment is we're going to take this screw out here. This one here is spring loaded, and it has two screws in it. So I'm going to remove these two screws, and I have to disconnect this spring clip up here on the top. See if I get my finger on it, like that. So now it is not spring loaded so much anymore. There, so now it's free. And we're going to exchange this shaft and put it into this carburetor. They are essentially the same carburetor. Alright, so here we go. Taking these screws out. And they have been peened over a little bit at the factory. Or in this case, they have used some Loctite, and that's what we're going to do when we put it back together, because the last thing you want is for these screws to be coming out. The older carburetors, they would actually peen the end of the screw to keep it from coming out. This is a better setup because you can remove it. Take the choke plate out, and this just slides up out of there like that. And then we come over here to this one. This one is combination Phillips and straight slot. Yeah. And this one is done in China, and I gotta tell you, it almost feels like it was peened over on the end, because it wasn't small resistance, it was large resistance to the screwdriver. And then it popped loose all of a sudden. Let's look at the end of this. It's hard to tell looking at the end whether it was peened or not. So I'm going to take that out. Because this one is not functioning right anyway, I'm not going to bother with putting that back in there. So I'm going to take this. And I see I'm going to have another little bit of an issue here, because there is not really a place for me to anchor my spring, is there? Yes, there is. Okay. And then we're going to just take this one. And it appears that maybe, yeah, I'm going to have to do just a little bit of trimming on that. You see that? The old one is just a hair bigger than the new one. Well, I suppose if I still had my quart of carburetors, I wouldn't have had to modify this. I probably could have found another one, but I've given away 9/10 of my hoard that I had. So we do what we gotta do. Now if I can remember what I did with the shaft, oh, it's right in there. See if it'll fit down in there properly. Doesn't look like the shaft is going down in quite as far as the other one did. So I've got to trim just a smidgen off of the bottom here. Yeah, I got to do a little more shaving, I think. Right up in this area. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. We're going to try it just like that. See how that's going to work. Now, let's see about pulling this piece off here. Now we've got to figure out a way to get these out, because those are pressed in, and swap it for this piece here. Okay, we've got our back together, and what I did here is I used my grinder to grind down the nibs on the fitting in here, and then I have put some of this good old-fashioned Indian head gasket sealer, which resists petroleum products, inside there, and then I pressed this together. Sorry I didn't show you that while I was doing it. Now I'm going to assemble it back on the lawnmower, but I'm not going to mess with it again until tomorrow. Give that gasket sealer plenty of time to seal up. Well, the proof is in the pudding now. We have it all back together. And I had to modify the linkage a little bit. Let's see what happens. I haven't started it at all. This will be our first go. Because it was flooded before, I'm not going to give it choke. Carburetor is going to need to be adjusted. Before it blows all the oil out of it. It was flooded big time. You can see the mess it made all over the floor when I drained it out. There was way more. There was probably 2 quarts or 3 quarts of oil and gasoline mixed. The exhaust was full. Let it run a little bit and bring it back. Well, the smoke is pretty much cleared away and she's idling pretty good. I'm not happy with the way it runs when it runs up. And that was an issue that I had before. I'm going to take it out and mow some lawn and see how it goes.